Have you ever walked into a room, plugged in your phone charger, and never once questioned why the outlet is almost always sitting quietly near the floor? It's one of those everyday details that feels so normal, so expected, that we rarely stop to think about it. Yet behind that simple placement is a mix of history, safety, engineering, and even a bit of human behavior. It wasn't always this way, and it's not entirely accidental either. In fact, the location of power outlets tells a story about how our homes evolved alongside electricity itself, adapting to new technologies and changing needs over time. And once you start noticing it, you'll realize there's more thought behind that little wall socket than you might expect. Today, we will uncover the surprising reasons why power outlets live near the floor, right here on History of Simple Things. To understand why outlets are placed low, we have to go back to the early days of electricity in homes. When electricity first became widely available in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, it wasn't used the way we use it today. Back then, electricity was primarily for lighting, not for powering dozens of devices. Homes had light fixtures mounted on ceilings or high on walls, and power was often delivered through those fixtures. If someone needed electricity for a device, they might plug into a light socket using an adapter, something that would feel strange and maybe even unsafe by today's standards. As electrical appliances began to spread, things like radios, fans, and eventually televisions, the need for dedicated wall outlets became obvious. But where should they go? Early electricians and builders had to make a choice, and practicality guided them. Most appliances at the time were placed on the floor or on low furniture. Lamps stood on tables, radios sat on cabinets, and fans rested on the ground. So placing outlets closer to the floor made sense. It reduced the need for long, dangling wires and made it easier to connect devices without stretching cords across the room. Safety also played a major role in this decision. One of the biggest concerns with electricity has always been minimizing risk. If outlets were placed higher up on walls, cords would have to hang down more often, creating tripping hazards or increasing the chance of someone pulling a device accidentally. By keeping outlets low, cords could stay shorter and closer to the surfaces where appliances were actually used. This simple design choice helped reduce accidents in a time when electrical safety standards were still developing. There's also an important structural reason tied to how buildings are constructed. Inside most walls are vertical studs, and running electrical wiring through these studs is easier when outlets are placed at a consistent lower height. Electricians typically route wires horizontally along predictable paths, making installation faster, cheaper, and more standardized. Over time, building codes in many parts of the world began to specify recommended heights for outlets, not too low to be impractical, but low enough to stay out of the way and align with typical furniture placement. Another factor that influenced outlet placement is aesthetics. While we don't often think about it, designers aim to keep walls as clean and uncluttered as possible. Outlets placed higher up would be more visible, potentially disrupting the look of a room. By positioning them near the floor, they become less noticeable, often hidden behind furniture like couches, desks, or cabinets. It's a subtle choice, but one that helps maintain a cleaner visual space. Of course, not all outlets are near the floor. If you look around your home, you'll notice exceptions. Kitchen outlets, for example, are usually placed above countertops. That's because kitchen appliances like blenders, toasters, and coffee makers are used on raised surfaces. Similarly, bathroom outlets are positioned near sinks, and desk outlets in offices might be mounted higher for convenience. These variations highlight an important principle. Outlets are placed where they're most useful for the way people interact with their environment. Modern building codes also reflect a balance between accessibility and safety. In many countries, outlets must be installed at a minimum height above the floor to prevent issues like water exposure during minor flooding or cleaning. At the same time, they shouldn't be so high that they become inconvenient to use. In some regions, regulations even consider accessibility for people with disabilities, ensuring that outlets can be reached without excessive bending or strain. Interestingly, as technology evolves, the traditional placement of outlets is starting to shift slightly. Today, we use more devices than ever before. Phones, laptops, gaming consoles, smart home systems, and many of them aren't confined to the floor or low furniture. This has led to new designs like outlets built into desks, USB ports embedded in walls, and even floor outlets in open spaces. Some modern homes include outlets at multiple heights to accommodate different uses, blending convenience with the traditional low placement. Another subtle reason for low outlet placement comes down to human habits. People tend to arrange their spaces in predictable ways. Furniture is usually placed against walls, and devices are often used near those pieces of furniture. By standardizing outlet placement near the floor, builders can ensure that outlets will be accessible in most room layouts without needing to customize every installation. It's a small detail, but it reflects a broader goal in design: creating systems that work for as many people as possible with minimal effort. Even cleaning and maintenance play a role. Outlets placed too high might interfere with wall decorations or shelving, while those placed too low, but not at floor level, are less likely to collect dust or be damaged during cleaning. It's a balance between accessibility, durability, and practicality. So the next time you plug something into the wall, take a moment to notice where that outlet sits. It's not just there by coincidence, it's the result of over a century of evolving technology, safety considerations, architectural practices, and everyday human behavior. What seems like a simple design choice is actually a carefully refined solution shaped by history and necessity. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.